Hi, my crafty friends. I'm so glad you could be with me. Today I have chosen to do a beginner journal, and it's going to be a theme of ballet. I taught dance for many, many years, and I feel like these young girls could begin a journal of memories from the years that they danced, because it becomes a commitment for them. And for moms or even maybe grandmothers to be able to help and guide them to build a journal of memories from performances, from the hard work that they put in class, maybe from using pieces of costumes like laces and glitter and shiny fabrics, maybe even flowers that they've gotten after a performance, taking the petals and using them, tickets to the shows, sticking them into little envelopes. You know, there's just so many great ideas that we have for a ballet journal. So come along with me as we begin to build the beginning pages of this fantastic ballet journal that will be a keepsake for these little girls forever. Well, it's time to begin working on the pages in my ballet journal. So let's take a look at all of my options. I've printed them out using my Creative Fabrica. I decided to create my own pages. I started with a base page, and then I really wanted to create that vintage look. Each sheet has images of either ballerinas or tutus. I have a nice blank page to work with as well. I added flowers, vintage perfume, not words, etc. I also gathered some sheets of other florals and also some Creative Fabrica images that I can cut out and use on individual pages. Now, some of these are see-through. I'm not sure I'm going to use these in this journal, but I might be able to add them in later because a journal is something that you build over time. Oh, and I love old music sheets, aged to perfection. Now I'm starting out with a blank journal. I wanted to be able to cover it in my own creation, and I wanted a ballerina on the front. So let's take a look at some options. There's a tutu that's quite pretty. Some flowers. But I really wanted a ballerina, and I think this one would do perfect. I like it better than just the plain tutu. I can use the tutu on the inside pages. So this one's perfect. Let's size it up. I'm going to wrap it around the back. And the fit is almost perfect to the page. I like it that it's not exactly perfect because I like to use inks and I like to age up the paper even more. So I just kind of lined it up to the edge the best I could to know where to put the Mod Podge. Now, if you're doing this with a child, which I suggest that you do, I would love to see moms and even grandmothers begin these journals for these children as they begin their ballerina journey. You know, it's going to take them for many, many years, and there'll be a lot of junk that they will be acquiring and saving. You know how little girls are. It would be so much fun to put them into this journal and as they grow, because they'll be, 4 and 5 and 6 years old when they start. Then they start getting involved in some bigger performances at 7, 8, and 9. And a lot of the kids just focus on dance, if they want to be a ballerina. So after we let that dry, I'm now going to take the cover, line it up as best I can. And then using a piece of parchment paper, I will lay it right over the top.
I'm being little fussy with it there. After that, I take my heat tool, because when you iron it with heat, it reactivates that Mod Podge and it attaches the image beautifully. No wrinkles at all. This is my ultimate favorite for adding decoupage to any fabric, actually, even woods. Make sure you get all the edges so everything sticks. And once you're done, peel that off, and no wrinkles. It's a perfect, perfect adhesion. You want to make sure you go all around the book. And we get the spine. And again, making sure that I catch all of the edges. We don't want it to come apart. It's going to be handled by some little hands for many, many years, so we want to make sure that this stays intact. Now, obviously, we want to get the back as well. I can just imagine what the little ones will do with this, especially the back. It has a nice plain background. They can do lots of creative things on the back of that book. And soon we're going to be filling it with creative pages. All right, so we're done adhering the cover perfectly, finished with no wrinkles. Now the edges of the paper, I'm going to sand lightly off. This is just a little detail sander, but you can use any sandpaper. I usually use something about 220. Just lightly sand it off and the paper comes right off. You can use this with decoupage and also fabrics. Lots of times fabrics are easy to extract. So you just want to remove all of the excess paper on all the edges. I mean, these are all things that you can have the little child do too and help you. I've taught classes with 4-year-olds and they are very astute at getting all of these things done. They follow directions very well and they're so proud when they're finished. It's really nice to use the detail sander because when you're done, you have perfect edges. You know, it's so much easier than using a scissor. It comes out so perfect. And now the last thing that I do to seal it completely is add one more coat of Mod Podge. Again, we're going to make sure we get all to the edge. Make sure we give it a very good coat. This is what seals that paper down. And it's going to allow me to add some inks and some um, distressing on top. So you want to make sure you go entirely around the book. Make sure you get anything off that gets stuck on. Sometimes little pieces of scrap paper get stuck on. Anyhow, you would do the entire book. And as soon as you're done with that, if you want to move on to the next step, you can get a hair dryer, which is what I use with the children. Um, we can use heat tools as crafters, but I like using little hair dryers for the children. And they're able to dry the book, and we can move on to the next step once it's completely dry. And here we have the book has been dried. I didn't do it on the screen. I thought I would make it a little quicker. Now, I wanted to add some more vintage look. I love taking this cover and just adding some more colors into it. You'll notice that I have um, lots of inks. It's called a distress ink. You can get these at Hobby Lobby. And I just love all the shades in this particular set. Here I'm using a soft ink blending brush. I have several of them. I try to separate them by color. So I just use the brush on the ink and then brush it right onto the book, paying particular attention to the edges that would be handled quite often, so that you make it look like it's a very old book that's been handled for many, many years. You can get those brushes on Amazon. I love all those pink shades too, especially for the Ballet Journal. And then I use a little darker vintage color to make it look a little um, dirtied up a little. And as you probably can figure out, children absolutely love working with these fun brushes and inks. Kids love mixed media more than crafters, I think it's sometimes. They just enjoy playing in all of the different colors and all of the different tools. It just makes them very happy. Most of the time when the children are with me, they just do not want to go home after. They want to stay with Miss Debbie and keep playing. You'll notice that I'm using several different shades so that we get a very natural look. And the paper itself already has a lot of distressing in it, but I wanted to add the inks, especially on the edges if there was any edge that the paper didn't go all the way over. You can actually add that ink everywhere. It makes a big difference when it's done. It's just really pretty and real vintage looking. Just keep layering and layering until you're happy with the result. Next, I wanted to put a title on my journal, and I wanted to use the stamps that were individual so that they would be uneven. They wouldn't be just, one word straight across. I wanted it to look uneven, like an old typewriter typed it. So I'll be typing in my ballet journal. And as you can imagine, the kids love doing this too. I find that most of the time when I have children in class, they want to make things for their moms. So for moms to work with their children on making these ballet journals, it would be a really nice switch, and it would be wonderful to see the children making something for themselves that they can keep forever. And with this ballet journal, they can just keep adding things throughout the years. And today I'm going to be doing one section of papers with ephemera and lace and pearls and all things ballet. But another day, we could do another totally different set to fit into that journal, maybe something a little bit older with more professional type performance pieces and tickets. And there's so many fun things that I've put into this book for the little ones. But each section can be maybe a different year in the life of a dancer. It's so funny. Oops, I I put that one sideways. It wasn't quite even straight up and down, but you know, what do they call them? Happy little accidents. Decided to give it a little more ink coming up, and it's going to be a beautiful setting for our journal. It'll be a beautiful cover. And here I didn't even use the brush. I just took the ink straight to it, which you can do. The more ink, the better. All right, now that we've got our cover done, let's get started on some fun pages. She looks so pretty. I love it. I love it already. All right, so here are the pages that I've created with Creative Fabrica, and I'm going to put them back to back, but I'm also going to use some of the white sides. I like adding extra decoupage pieces. I like doing stenciling. So we can do a lot of that on the plain side page. It's a journal. It's a junk journal. You can do anything you want. There is no right or wrong when you're creating a journal. I wanted to see how they looked as I folded them over. That was pretty, but I think I like something a little bit better than that. Taking time to make sure that you like the way the pages work is very important. There, we've got some perfume on the front, some blank pages to play with. That looks great. Let's add another one. Oh, I love that one with the feathers and the perfume. But I think I'm going to turn it over and see. Yeah, I like that better. When it opens up, you'll see there'll be a pretty ballerina with the same tones as the feathers. So here I'm just deciding how I want them to flow and how it looks pretty. See the feathers in the ballerina. Now that's a blank page, so we've got to make a change there. There we go. I do want the crown to be the center stage. After playing around with it a little bit, I finally came to my decision. And I have these little stickers. We always need a lot of stickers with junk journaling. And this almost has like a paper, like a brown paper bag feel to it. And a little later on, I don't do it in this particular tutorial, but I do add some stamping on the front of that. Now I'm going to start to play around a little bit more with the interior of my journal. Envelopes are always fun to use, and when little girls get um, pretty cards, congratulation cards, keep those envelopes because you can even cut them in half as I did here, and then glue up one side so whatever you put in it doesn't fall out. There you go. I'm going to find a page to put that in. Sorry, I'm off camera a little bit there. It happens when I stop playing around with the pages. All right, so I'm going to glue that in. And I've pretty much kept to shimmery and shiny pieces for this journal because I know how much little girls love the shimmer and the shine. So we can obviously add a lot more as we move on, but I got a little glue there I got to clean up. I don't want those pages sticking together. And then later I'm going to take some ephemera and put it on a tag and slide it inside there. But you'll see the tag that I'm just measuring for size, perfect. I'll add some ephemera later, but you could always add a ticket to one of the little girls' performances, something that you want to have a memory of, a keepsake. And I'm not sure which little girl that's ever done a ballet class that hasn't performed the Nutcracker. So I have a Nutcracker sticker that I put in there. It's like a 3D Nutcracker. It's so cute. And as I flip through the pages, I'm just thinking of some things that I want to add. And here's some dried flowers that I wanted to add in the corner. I just loved the texture and the color that it adds to that page. The way you build your junk journal is through adding and adding and layering and going back and adding some more. It's not as if you just take an hour and make a junk journal. You just keep adding to it continuously. I found a nice blank page. I want to add my beautiful music sheet. Just with a little hot glue, I can add that right in. And I put the side of the page where it's broken up and rough. I like the way that looks. I like that not so perfect edge. And it's a vintage piece as well. I received this on a gift one time, and it's all music notes. So it's just a piece of ribbon with music notes that I'm going to add in that particular section. Just playing with some ideas, and that's what we do when we junk journal. I just knew I was going to use that ribbon somehow, and it was the perfect spot. Now, whether I want to crimp it or leave it plain, I think I'm going to be coming back to that in a little bit to see what's best. I'll attach it for now. Now, this is really fun. As the dancer performs and as they grow up, there will be a time for big lashes. So I thought I would put a set of lashes on the musical page. A little later on, I add some copper gilding wax all over that page, but I don't believe I did it in this particular tutorial. But you can just, you can just do anything you want. Just keep playing with fabrics and items. I decided here that I wanted to add some pearls. Pearls add that delicate feeling of ballet with the tutus. And I love the fact that there is a very wide band. So rather than use a thin strand of pearls, I thought I would make a bigger statement by using the wider band. And I just hot glue those on as well. I do add some details to the tutu that you see there on the right. On the straps of her tutu, I put little pink pearls later. It's so much fun. The kids love playing with stickers. Of course, the mom and the Mimi and the teacher will be the ones to deal with the hot glue, but otherwise we let the kids use stickers and some Elmer's glue. Elmer's glue is always a child's friend. It's easy not to get hurt that way. Now, next I thought I would add some little silk flowers. I didn't have real petals from a dance performance that I've done recently because I haven't danced in quite a few years. But I did choose some pretty silk flowers to add dimension to the bouquet of flowers in the corner of that page. I used 3 little silk flowers. I love doing um, elements in threes. For some reason, I just feel that they look more finished. It's either 1 or it's 3 or it's 5 or it's 7. I guess they say that odd numbers work best when you're working with especially home decor. But when you're working with a journal, anything goes, of course. All right, next page I'm going to work on. I'm going to take some of the images that I had pulled out of Creative Fabrica, and I'm going to put them on one of the pages because they absolutely are adorable, and they're all in the colors that I created the book in. So there you go. I need 2 white pages. I need a nice spread. I was contemplating putting them on that page, but I really didn't like the way they would look on the sort of vintage paper. But I did like the way they looked on the regular paper. So here I am. I'm just using the water method to get the image off the paper. Just add a little water all the way around the image. And then I'll be able to carefully pull the pages apart. As you pull that paper, the image will come right up. Just be careful that you don't rip the image itself, because I have done that. All right, we're going to go back to that white page. There we go. See, I love the way that looks. You can add lots of images with the white backgrounds, and the background just fades away. And again, I'm going to grab another image to put on the other side, the opposite side of the page, and I did them both in the same color tones, so they'll work real pretty together. So we use lots of bows and buttons and ballet shoes. You can pull images from a lot of places, especially if the little girl goes to ballet school. You can take images right off of maybe the cover of the program book for the dance recital. You could actually take a whole cover and put it right in there. Or you can be like me and get creative and make up your own. This is such a great project to do with your little ones. It truly is. What great memories you can make together just building the junk journal. I think I'm going to take a little bit more of the white off of that bow. Well, let's put the Mod Podge on there. So I just spread it around enough so that the image fits right over it. There we go. Make sure I have it underneath everywhere. And now I'm just going to go right to putting the Mod Podge over and getting that sealed. Since it's like a decoupage paper, you definitely have the edges that'll curl up while they're wet. So you want to make sure you get everything down. Perfect. Just taking a little bit more of the white off of that bow. I wanted the bow to actually look a little more realistic. So I'll get rid of some of the extra paper. I printed these myself. You can print them on tissue paper, regular paper, rice paper, whatever you want. Junk journaling is really fun, and you don't have to be perfect. I mean, just ripped edges sometimes look the best, especially with a vintage book. I love to see a lot of ripped edges, a lot of distressing, and you'll see later that I'm going to go right over this entire page with something really fun. But for now, just going to get the decoupaged on. This time I went right for the gusto, and I'm putting the Mod Podge right on the image. And don't forget to Mod Podge over. I got a little stuck, so it's a good thing to pay attention to that. Get it unstuck. And I did rip the page a little bit, but nothing a little Mod Podge won't fix. We just had a conversation about torn edges. And there we go. Perfect. All right. Making sure it's stuck on there well. All right. So let's put this aside, let it get to dry, little dry time. And notice I'm cleaning up the Mod Podge mess that I made because I don't want it to get on any of the other pages while I'm working. Now I found another element that I wanted to add, and it's a piece of mesh. So I'm just going to cut a wide band of mesh. I like pulling some of the edges off to make it even a little more distressed looking. And we're going to add that to the book with a little hot glue. And we are back at the musical notes again. And here I'm just tucking the ribbon under. So when you take some time away and come back to a little project area, you have a new vision for it. So I kind of like the way it got folded over. It's almost like a Parisian scarf. I think it looks real cute, especially with the eyelashes. Now I'm going back to that little sticker I put on the perfume page, and I am typing out with the um, ink perfume in French, Parfum, parfum. Not sure I pronounced that well. I'm not French, but you know, there's a lot of ballet that was based on French. I mean, all of the words, dégagé and pirouette and uh, jeté, there's all a lot of ballet terminology is from France. So there's quite a history there. So the children, as well as learning their ballet steps, they learn the verbiage as well. So that's why I decided to do it in the French terminology. And like I said before, every time you turn the page, there's another element that you want to add, and just keep working on it. Maybe once a week, go back to your journal and add a little more. Now, this page, I decided that I wanted to make it a little bit more whimsical. So I took out my stencil, and we're going to use the inks again. instead of paint. I just thought the paint would be too heavy for the paper, this particular paper. So I pulled out one of the pretty pink shades and started out by adding it directly to the paper, but I realized it wasn't smooth enough. It was a little streaky, so I went back and got my brush, and I'm going to brush all through the Harlequin just to give it a little whimsical feeling. And I really don't like to have things perfectly perfect. I like to have them perfectly imperfect. So you'll notice that I'm just going to add some of the ink around the edges and not quite filling in the entire Harlequin all the time. So it pretty much gives each image a little bit of a halo of color. Let's see how it's starting to look. I'll pull it back and check a little bit. Oh, that's coming out good. And you may have guessed it, but children love playing with stencils as well. It's much easier for them to be able to use ink with the stencil than it is paint. They don't quite catch the whole idea of offloading the brush before they put it on the stencil. Unless, of course, they're a little bit older, they can learn that quite well. But I like to use the inks with the smaller children, the younger children. So look at how cool that's starting to look. While that's drying, I took some ephemera and just roughed up the edges. I don't like anything perfect, like I told you. And we're going to attach it with some Mod Podge. And I'm not going to do the heat method on this one because I really don't care if it has a wrinkle or two. I think it actually would add to the vintage look if it had some wrinkles. So just be gentle with it so it doesn't rip. So that's why I'm using my baby finger. You can always use a little plastic wrap or a soft brush, but just be careful so it doesn't rip. Be sure to seal it. And after this dries, I will put it in the little envelope that we've already added to the book. I'm just touching the edges so that they become a little more sturdy because I'm leaving them frayed looking. This is fun. I like to find lace at the consignment stores. I will go to the vintage stores and buy pieces of curtains for $2. You get that entire big curtain, and then you can just cut it up and add it to anything. You can add it to your junk journals, or you can actually make strips of ribbons. Get out your bow dabber and make a nice ribbon. But here I just wanted to cut one big chunk of lace off and add it right to my book. Now I'm just giving you some ideas today on, elements that you can add, but be creative. Think about the things that you've collected over the years, especially if it's a little girl that does ballet. She's probably collected lots of junk in her drawers in her bedroom, or maybe even on top of the bureau, as we know little girls like to do. So, pull everything you can together and add it. So, these are just a few ideas. Later, I will go ahead and take that crown and bejewel it with all kinds of stones, which again, children love to play with colorful stones. I'm just trimming the lace around that corner, and I'm letting the lace hang off the page just enough. The other thing I did was take a piece of ribbon, and I just covered the uneven edge on the inside of the book. You can also use, here I would use pieces of old costumes that the little ones have grown out of. Just take pieces of lace and pieces of ribbons and add them right to the book. And you can even add the date into the book of when that costume was worn. There's just so many ideas when you are junk journaling. Be careful when you're using hot glue, especially with lace that's see-through, because the glue comes right through the lace and it'll get you. If you're already a crafter, you know what that's like, but if you haven't crafted before, you'll figure it out quick. Sometimes I'll find things that I can use to tap it down so I'm not getting the glue on my fingers. Whatever works, right, girls? Add a couple of more drops of glue to secure it. I'm also going to add another drop of glue to secure that envelope. Now, this could be a ticket from a dance recital that you could be saving. You'd put it right in that envelope, but I'm just checking to see how dry it is because it's going to go right inside. Not now. We'll wait till it's completely dry. This is a real pretty ribbon. It's actually quite sparkly. Perfect for a little ballerina. Sorry, my head's in the way. Like I said, when I get really into it, I just have some fun. But that little ribbon is just enough to complete that look of the lace. Another thing that I've done with really small children is I will put some paint on their little hands and then put their handprint right inside the book, which is so great because if they're 2 or 3 years old when they start their little ballet career, it's a great time for you to catch all those small moments, or even and take an imprint of the bottom of the ballet shoe, the very first ballet shoe. So these are just little stick-on beads. And what I noticed is that they were done in strips, which made it so easy to just pull off. I think I got them at the Dollar Tree. And I added there. And then I did add some on the straps of that tutu. And that was me contemplating where I wanted to put them, but yeah, that's where I'm going to put them. this is where the little kid in me comes out, because I want to start decorating the tutu like I'm a ballet costume designer. And the little ones are going to want to do the same thing. There'll be glitter all over that tutu by the time they're done. But I stopped at the straps for now. I also found this really pretty wide ribbon, and it was very heavy. So I thought, oh, this is a beautiful backdrop for a page. So I glued that on. I didn't do anything else with it today, but I did want to get it on there because it's just so glittery. And there you have it. I hope that you have enjoyed watching the creation of this very first journal. I will put the pages inside, and thank you for being with me today. There's the cover, and there's the cover with the inserts.